So good morning, everybody, and welcome back to day two of the EIT Food Future of Food Conference 2020. My name's Dan Kraft from Forum Europe, and we're delighted to be working with EIT Food on this year's edition of the conference. And once again, I'm delighted to welcome you all here back for the second day of the conference. So yesterday we had a really interesting day, discussions mainly focusing around the EU farm to fork strategy and looking at the role of things like innovation, education, consumer engagement in delivering that. So today we're now moving on. The discussion is going to move, and we're going to be focusing more around the topic of investing in the future of food. And we have some fantastic speakers and panelists coming up, which we'll be starting with just very shortly. Before we do start, I just wanted to once again say a couple of words about the platform that we are using for the session, for the conference this year. Obviously, as with most events at the moment, this is going to be in the virtual format. And the platform that you are on has been designed, though, to try and replicate some of the benefits that you get at a standard face-to-face event. So in addition to the stage area that you're in now, you also have other areas on the platform. You can use the menu down your left-hand side to navigate to a networking area and also to an exhibition area. We have some exhibition stands, so please do check those out. And on the right-hand side of your screen, please make use of the chat function to post any questions and comments you have for speakers and panelists throughout the day. And also, you can use the People tab to see who else is on the platform and to connect one-to-one with individuals there. So we do have at 11:15 today, we have a virtual networking break. So that will be a good opportunity for you to try out some of those interactive features, as I said, to maybe network and connect with some of the other attendees on the platform, and also to check out the exhibition stand. But for now, as I said, we have a fascinating and quite packed morning ahead of us, so we better get going with the first session. So I'm delighted now to pass over to our moderator for the first two sessions, to Simon Pickard from Science Business. So Simon, welcome. Good to see you. And as I said, we're looking forward to this morning's sessions, and I will now pass over to you to first of all introduce our keynote speaker for this morning. So Simon, over to you.
Dan, thank you very much, and also to Giovanni and the EIT Food team. It's really a pleasure to be part of this milestone event around the future of food. And, you know, for Science Business, as Europe's leading media organization focused on research and innovation, we followed the EIT journey and those of its kicks with great enthusiasm and curiosity over the last few years. So it's a pleasure to be here in support of the EIT Food discussions around what comes next in terms of investing in the future of food. And of course, today's discussions are really framed by, on one hand, the lessons learned from how the sector itself has responded to the challenges and the shocks presented by the COVID-19 pandemic. But of course, the new opportunity landscape, which is presented by the EU's Green Deal, its digitalization of farm-to-fork strategies, the imminent launch of Horizon Europe, the next research and innovation framework program, and more besides. So to launch the discussions, I'm delighted to welcome our opening keynote speaker, Paolo De Castro, who is current member of the European Parliament, the Socialists and Democrats coordinator on the Agriculture and Rural Development Committee in the Parliament, and of course, former Italian Minister of Agriculture, Food and Forestry. So a perfect person to get the conversation going. Paolo, a very warm welcome to you on this rather chilly day here in Brussels, at least. So let's get things going with a helicopter view on sort of the agri-food sector today. I mean, the COVID-19 pandemic and the farm-to-fork strategy, they have a transformative potential, right, for Europe's agri-food sector in what is a rapidly changing global context. So from your perspective, why do you think Europe should prioritize agri-food sector innovation today and investment? And what's the longer term implications if it does not?
Well, first of all, let me say good morning, everybody, and welcome to this interesting day, the second day of the Future Food Conference, focusing on investing in the future of food. Let me say thank you to Giovanni and to you, Simon, and all the colleagues and participants being present at this event. for the great interest shown in these topics. Well, as you know, that the big question is not where we are going. Everybody agree the future is our Green Deal. This is one of our goals that the European institution said very clear. The problem is how to get there. So the platform today, the European Institute of Innovation and Technology, and the discussion we do today, it would be very important to try to give some answer to how we will get there. What kind of innovation and how we can take all the complexity of the question that we have to face today. Farmers today are stressed. All the food producers are stressed by the pandemic. And of course, we have a lack of an important share of the food demand, in particular for HoReCa, for restaurant, bar, and hotels. And that means that now the producer have to focusing how we can have enough market for the food from one side. And the other side, of course, all the pressure is to increase the sustainability, to increase, the way how to reduce chemistry in agriculture, how we can be more sustainable and produce. So the big question is how to produce more with less, how we can do all this process with the farmers, not against farmers. And I very much think this the key answer to this question is innovation, Simon.
Well, that's a very good way of framing the key question, Paolo. Thank you for that. So it raises a related one, which is then which areas and priorities would you see for the European Union or the Commission, and of course member states as well, and the relevant ministries to be investing in starting from today, and whether that's for short-term turnaround or impact or as part of a longer-term strategy, where should investment be flowing today?
Taking an example, one of the main questions of farm to fork strategy, which is the main strategy on Green Deal, is reducing chemistry, so reducing pesticide, reducing fertilizer, reducing antibiotics, and all the chemistry. Well, sound is good. We want to do that, no question about how we can create the concrete alternative to our farmers. Because as we said always, the disease is there. Farmers have to face the disease of the plants, no question about how to do that. So we have to invest more in innovation because innovation can give the answer. In particular, we have an extraordinary example of the new plants or new breeding techniques, genetics. Why we don't combat the disease instead of using chemistry, we can use genetics. Today, we have an extraordinary example of how we can produce new variety resistant in the disease without using chemistry. That means tons and tons of chemistry less in the land. Another example, technology, precision farming, smart farming, what we call the precision farming technology. How farmers can use technology to reduce the chemistry because the new technology uses the drone, uses the satellite, uses the information we have, the big data. We can put the fertilizer, we can put the pesticide exactly where the land needs, exactly where the piece of the land need this intervention, and not everywhere. This technology is not very expensive, so we can get from one side an interesting more competition in the farmers, and at the same time we reduce the chemistry. So innovation can give the answer, but we have to invest more. We have to invest more because we need to give these technologies available to our farmers. So what we are trying to do is to push farmers to use this technology and giving a lot of investment in research to produce this technology available for farmers. And that's the challenges we have, Simon.
Well, a related question, Paolo, is then whether or not everybody's going to buy into this agenda, right? I mean, I think there's a broad recognition that there are various promising areas of technology, whether they are driven by enabling technologies and digitech, to, as you say, some of the potential substitutes for for more conventional chemical products, to satellite data, to all other kinds of very, very powerful tools to be made available to farmers. But within an agri-food value chain, is it possible for everybody to agree on what the innovation agenda really is? Because, of course, there may be some conflicting interests. I'm just wondering if you have any thoughts about how we can possibly move much larger communities of actors in the value chains towards a common vision on what to adopt, what to use, what to scale in the years to come.
Yeah, it's correct, Simon. This is the challenges. First, our alliance are the consumers. Consumers today have a much more interest to have food with a high standard of sustainability, quality and sustainability. So, for example, an extraordinary example of the European policy is organic farming. Organic farming is increasing very much. Now we have an average in Europe around 10-15%. In my country, Italy, we have more than 50% of the total Italian land using for agriculture is organic. The goal we said in Farm to Fork is to reach in 2030 at least 30% of the all European land in organic farming. Organic farming means to give the clear labeling system to consumer to know that this is one of the answer. You can produce, but reducing the chemistry. You can not use a synthesized pesticide, and of course you can give the correct answer. But we should make this alliance, consumer from one hand and farmers to the other hands. And of course, the question is price, because we don't want to produce food only for rich people. Because at the end of the story, remember, everybody said we are very interesting to have a much more sustainability. We want to have a more attention to the natural resources, but at the end, they want cheap price. They don't want to pay more. So it's very important to maintain a clear equilibrium between sustainability from the environmental point of view, from the economic point of view, and from the social point of view. This is the really big challenges. How we maintain this triangle, economic, social, and environment. Because otherwise, of course, the risk that we have, if we push too much the system in having a lot of constraint for our farmers, is simple to increase the import, to reduce the European production, to increase the import. This is the failure. We don't want to get there. We want to have this result with our farmers. So our farmers is the protagonist get there. And this is why we always said we need to do this progress with our farmer, not against our farmers. It's important to do that, to have this balance. I think the European Parliament, in our committee, in Agriculture Committee, we are trying to do this balance. And this is the reason why sometimes we have a lot of NGO that is attacking us and saying, no, this is not enough, you are refreshing, something like that. But we have to maintain this balance. We don't want to lose one farmers. Fine.
So I think that's a really powerful message, although I guess there's a potential counterpoint, which is that there is a perception that the sector as a whole tends to be rather conservative. Now, we can't obviously make sweeping generalizations to say farmers are too conservative or producers are too conservative or processors are too conservative, but there is a sense that the sector as a whole is quite slow to adopt innovation and new technologies that are available to it. So how do you think we can change that? I mean, are there any important barriers, whether regulatory or cultural or social, that need to be addressed for a more entrepreneurial, innovative spirit to pull through the system as a whole?
Yeah, well, of course, one of the answer is that the invest that Europe is doing in Horizon. We want to increase the budget for research. We want to increase the opportunity to make more research. More research means more solution in the future. On the other hand, remember that we have a problem with our farmers community because sometimes they are very old. And this is the reason why we are investing a lot of young farmers. Why? Because young farmers has much more study progress. They have a degree. They are much more easy getting new technology. And now this is the progress we are doing in the Next Generation EU for rural development, for example, we just approved a few days ago, to increase the budget for young farmers. More young farmers we have, easier we get innovation in agriculture, because they are faster getting this innovation. And this is why we are investing a lot in young farmers. Again, farmers are part of the solution. It's not part of the problem, it's part of the solution. And we need to use this idea in the future. Young farmers, new technologies. I want to clarify, when we talk about new breeding techniques, we are not talking about GMO. We don't want to open again another discussion with our consumer. Our consumer in Europe doesn't like GMO. Okay, we have a new technology which has nothing to do with GMO, because we don't move gene from one species to another. New breeding techniques is an incredible new technologies. They just get a Nobel Prize a few months ago because they work inside of the patrimony. We don't move gene from one species to another. It means no Frankenstein food at all. And this technology is incredible, powerful technology, because we can do in a very small laboratory. We don't need a lot of billion euro of investment to do that. So new research, new investment, young farmers, and of course, good policy. This is what is in our hand to do our best, Simon.
Okay, well, we may come back to this question about the uptake of digital technologies and new tools before we close. But I think your final comments raised a really important question about how the EU, through its different instruments and programs, can improve the access to finance and technology for innovative farmers, not just the younger generation, but perhaps that's a more receptive, curious audience, and agri-food entrepreneurs, right, who are, I think, already mobilizing and seeking capital to support their new ventures that are really aligned with the farm to fork strategies. So what do you see as sort of next steps for the EU to increase the availability, the value, and the impact of these resources for Europe's farmers and other agri-food entrepreneur communities?
Well, first, there is a lot of opportunity in food industries. This is for sure, because worlds need more food. No question about. All the Asia, China in particular, but all Asia are increasing the food demand, and they don't have land enough. They don't have land enough. This is the reason why we are looking at land grabbing progress. They are going in Africa to get land. They are looking at land all over because they have to satisfy an incredible increase of demand, and they don't have land enough. So the world needs more food, and the more food is linked to the consumer demand, not only because of populations. Population increase the food demand in an arithmetic way, but the income per capita increase the food demand in geometric, increases. That means that people like to have more milk, more livestock, more beef, and this means a lot of natural resources. We don't have these natural resources in the world. So if you want to make just an example, very extreme example, if the Chinese people will consume exactly the same way as European, we need at least 3 planets. We don't have 3 planets. So the question is how to face this incredible equilibrium in the future. This is the reason. Produce more with less. Produce more with less means to have a new technology to increase the production, but to maintain high soil fertility. Is an incredible opportunity for innovation. And there is a lot of people are investing there, because who will get the result of that? That would be very spread technology around the world. So I think the market will give the opportunity to push people to invest more. What we have to do is to try to don't move the problem to other countries, because this sometimes is happening in Europe. We want to be the first class. This is nice. In particular, when we talk about animal welfare, environment, we want to be the first class in the world. But the risk is if we don't work together with our producer community, with our farmers community, with our food processing community, the risk is just to move the problem to other countries. And this is what we want to maintain in Europe. Europe should be the champion to try to have the farm community together with the consumer, and together, of course, with the European institutions to try to give the correct answer. It's not easy. I mean, this is the big question. The large part of the war around the world happened because of that, because the lack of natural resources, because we don't have a land and we don't have a water. So that would be one of the main questions in the world. And we know that climate change is a problem, but it's a problem for farmers too, because they are facing, to manage the mitigation of that. So all this process should be go together, and this is, the very, very difficult way for the politicians to find the right solution following, not just giving confusion. Everybody said, I want to do that. Yeah, everybody wants to do that, but the concrete solution we should put on the table. Simon.
And so a final question then, are you optimistic and positive that the resources and the tools that the EU is deploying already, with Horizon Europe, with other instruments, with EIB, with the prospect of extra investment for farm to fork strategy, do you think this is going to be an effective mix of tools to really make a change in the current landscape?
I'm always optimistic, Simon. I'm a professor in agricultural economics. I'm studying that, and we see the light. I'm quite optimistic on that. Europe right now, because of the pandemic, show an incredible will to go together. Because one lesson we have learned after this pandemic, nobody can give a correct answer alone. So Europe should give the answer, the correct answer. When we talk about technologies, when we talk about vaccine, when we talk about everything, the single country cannot give the solution. Europe can give the solution. And we are given an incredible example of next generation. The Recovery Fund is an example of this solidarity in Europe. 750 billion euro for whole countries means a very strong example of this solidarity. And I think Europe is in the right track. Of course, with all the differences, we have now Poland and Hungary is making, problem of that. But we need to show everybody that the only solution we have to face these big challenges, like climate change, like, sustainability, is Europe. Let's go together. I think very much we have the chance to do that. And of course, we need to, to talk more, like today, to let people know more about what we are doing.
And I guess in that sense, for you, the role of consumers is also going to be key. It's a question of public confidence, of public trust, and somehow we have to better connect the dots between these different sectors, the producers, the farmers, the broader policy framework, the private sector, and consumers. And that's one of the great challenges that lies ahead.
Absolutely.
That's a fair way to
much better words than I do. Thank you.
Well, listen, thank you so much. I think it's time to bring the opening keynote session to a close. Paolo, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you with us this morning, and really to provide such a fascinating foundation for the next set of discussions that we have.